30th through the September 2nd, and I have been invited to speak again, so I'm looking forward to that. It was a great time, and hopefully JT will get on the bike and join us. If you want to join the show today, it is 218-632-9399. It's 218-632-9399. We're going to go to, and hope this works out well, we're going to go to Karl, who's been on the show before. So, Karl, welcome back to the No State Project.
Hey, how you doing, Marc?
I'm doing great, Karl. What do you got for us today?
I got a couple of things. I want to play devil's advocate with you for a little bit.
Always
I can
like
play
that.
your role. I can play your role or my role. It doesn't matter. I see it both ways, so I'm just going to spice it up a little bit. Did you hear me on, internet radio calls lately on these talk show things?
I honestly don't have the time to do that. I spend most of the day on the phone with psychopaths, the type of people, you're familiar with some of those people I deal with, and I'm working on the new book, so I listen to very little radio, if any.
Right, I get asked to sit in as a psychopath every now on a 5-panel hearing board for wrongful terminations and workman comp cases, so yeah, I know what you're talking about with psychos. I got a couple of good friends who are really good black robe ones. So that's how I can play both sides, and that's why I know really what's more or less what's going on, what you folks really don't see.
Okay, well, what do you got for us today then?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You always say something about how the code doesn't apply.
There's no I say that there's no evidence that the code applies.
Okay, and I don't know if we're on the air.
We are. We are live on the air.
Okay, fine. I was like, you've heard of the domestic authority doctrine, right?
Domestic authority doctrine.
Okay, I'll give you an easy one. You know, Clinton says we can't go into Syria because we can't involve ourselves in some foreign state's domestic affairs.
I believe it has to do with like the law of nations and whatnot, the respect of sovereignty. Yeah.
Right. Of states, right? A societal belief that you have a right to engage in your own private domestic affairs without intervention of a foreign state intervening.
Yeah.
That's basically it. So it's like, so why, when you say the code doesn't apply, so do you believe the people within a certain district do not have a right to establish its societal rules of law? And then when you enter into their society, why do you feel that you're not liable for causing harm to others within that society when you violate their code?
Well, I never said that I don't feel that if I cause harm to somebody that I'm not liable to make them whole. I adhere to the non-aggression principle, and if I damage somebody, then I will make them whole. And I think I got a pretty good track record for that. When I do, if I do that or I don't follow through on business and I don't, and something gets screwed up. What I'm talking about is evidence that someone else's code applies to me, like a political code. Now, what you're talking about has a lot of assumptions that a group of people have engaged in some kind of voluntary agreement, and that's not what we're discussing as far as when we're talking about states.
Okay, well, it's a presumption, but that's okay. What I'm saying, are you saying that the customs of a society in which you're entering, in which they claim you did wrong, you're saying that not make their societal beliefs into a code system, are you saying that's not applicable to you?
I don't believe that I think what you're talking about is you're trying to conflate what let's say what's known as, I'll use me as an example, where you're conflating what the government has done with what the people in the area have done, and they're two separate things. You have to narrow down and actually be very specific about what you're talking about. And it's one thing about a custom. Having a driver's license is not a custom, and I don't think that's what you're getting at, and I would disagree that it's a custom. It's something that is violently imposed on people by a very small minority of those people.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's the complete opposite. A custom of the people. Like, say, if you went through a local county here and you wanted a jury trial, and you said you could say that I don't need a driver's license. Well, I'm telling you, when you get 12 little old ladies on the jury, they will say the custom and a belief of our society is you must have a driver's license. That's why I say to folks, sometimes it's better just to talk to the black-robed one and show him the black and white letter of the law, because he's bound by that letter of law. He can't interpret it. But the little old ladies will say the customs of our society within our district is we want you regulated, we want you insured, and we want you to maintain a proper driver's license, and you're going to lose in front of a trial by jury of a whole bunch of the people of that community.
Well, at least in my situation, it's kind of rare. You wouldn't have a jury for a driver's license, but you may have one in Michigan or Maine or in Florida. And there is merit to that, of course. That happens all the time. We can just bring up our good friend Marc and Rose, where even if the judge comes out and tells the jury says to Larkin in front of the jury that he was sincere in his belief that he was not required to pay taxes, the jury still convicted him anyway. And for whatever we can only speculate as to exactly why the jury did that. You're assuming that you're going to have 12 people unanimously say, no, it's our custom, we're going to do this, even though the prosecutor may not have had any evidence.
The prosecutor in Mike's case, in that tax case, do you realize he went to a federal tax court, correct?
No, he went to a federal, it was the district court in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It wasn't the tax court.
So he went to a county court?
No, he went to the federal district court.
And was he the defendant or was he the prosecutor?
Mike was the defendant. He was the one that was indicted. He's the one that's sitting in jail right now.
Okay, so then when a prosecutor files a case, what rights do defendants have under the rules of the court?
Well, according to the principles of due process, a fair hearing before a cold, impassioned, neutral judge. They're supposed to have a presumption of innocence. They're supposed to have... this is some pretty basic stuff. I mean, are you really calling about that?
It's not. It's what you might think. It's what you're saying is like pretty basic stuff. But why didn't Mike not file a claim of his own and establish the rules of court in which he was going to appear?
Mike challenged, at least initially, he challenged the Laurie Hendrickson's evidence to prove jurisdiction.
What I'm saying is, why did he bother to address the court until there was a proper claim filed before that court?
Because they weren't going to stop. He did raise that issue that there was no valid cause of action for him.
You don't raise an issue within their. You don't raise an issue within their case, within their case number, within their claim, within their complaint. You establish your own claim with your own case number, and when you do that, you're requiring the court to place a proper claim before the court before you will address that case that is now before their case before the court.
So So what you're saying is you have to invoke their jurisdiction in order to challenge the jurisdiction over you. You
have to invoke your jurisdiction and make them prove that they have jurisdiction over you.
But if
anything written on that paper has any merits or any kind of control or jurisdiction over you as the man. Mm-hmm.
So you have to invoke the court's jurisdiction by filing your own claim before you can...
You invoke it. It's your court. You move your court into that. It's just a building. It's just a building. So you're moving your court and your claim and your case into that venue, and you're invoking your jurisdiction and saying, where do they have the authority to move I as a man? May the proper claim be made forth before this court so I may answer it. Is there a claim submitted before this court? Is it? And you make sure you say,
hold on a second. We'll finish off there. We're up against a break here on the No State Project, talking with Karl. Invoking your own court. We'll be back here in just a moment. If you want to join us, it's 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, Karl. So you're saying you have to invoke your own court and bring it into their building before they...
Okay, this is a problem you're having big time. It's not their building. They're public courthouses. They're not private courthouses. Is there a private legal law society operating in it basically from 9 to 5? Absolutely. You have to make it a public building. Again, you have to bring man's claim into that public building where the private side, the Bar Association, has no control or authority or jurisdiction over it. It's a public building. It's not their courthouse. It's your courthouse. Your grandpappy built it. My grandpappy built it.
I don't have any evidence of that. My grandfather was from Sicily. My other grandfather came in from Ireland by way of Nova Scotia. Who cares who built the building 30, 40, 50, or 100 years ago? What does that have to do with me today?
It was a private organization did not build that courthouse. It is a public building, like a public library. You could do whatever you want in a public library. You can do whatever you want in that public courthouse.
You can't do whatever you want. But you're going to have to break this down because it doesn't seem to... It's not making any sense to me. And it may be because I know you don't have a very high opinion of me. I get that.
A very high opinion of you. I do. You are what I was a couple of years ago.
You've been pretty. You've been pretty. Let's use a nice term, critical, which is fine. But you've gone beyond just critical of me. You've accused me of not letting you on the air. Which is not true, and I have let you on, and you're on the air now. Although this particular part is going to be on the podcast, but it's not making sense to me when you're saying that you have to, you're going to bring your own court, but you're going to file the paperwork with their clerk of the court, right?
Oh, okay. I don't want to get into semantics with you because it's not a clerk of the court; it's the court clerk. Oh. That's the public office. That's the public office. Is the court clerk.
What is the basis of the jurisdiction of the public clerk then? Where is their basis of authority coming from? Is it from the Constitution?
It's from the county, like where they're operating out of the county commissioner's office. They're the ones who established the court because the will of the people, because the people decided to elect certain representatives to do their legal law work for them. They sent them to Washington or their state capital or to their county control board, and they're doing the people's work on behalf of the people that elected them.
But when you were using the example of Mike in Idaho, it was the federal court. What does that have to do with the county?
I just asked, did Mike go into a federal court, a county court, a municipal court? What type of court did he go into?
I told you it was a federal court.
And they moved a federal complaint against him.
They had a federal grand jury indict him. And they filed it apparently with the district court in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Why didn't he file a claim in that court, in that building, through that court clerk's office as well, establishing the fact that they had no jurisdiction over his property and they had no right to administrate his property without his consent?
He filed paperwork showing that the prosecutor, Lori Hendrickson, by her own admission, had no evidence the codes applied, and that there was jurisdiction over him. He did that.
If you don't answer a prosecutor, you become the prosecutor. If you don't prosecute a claim, you're not going to win. The best you're going to do if you're a defendant is you're going to be a draw or you're going to lose. When you go to court, you go to court to win. It's a battle. It's a duel. You don't want to draw. You want to win. So you file a claim that whoever this person is claiming to be, Lori Anderson, is making a false claim before the court, that she has no verifiable proof.
All right, hold on a second, Karl. We're back here live on the No State Project. If you want to join us, it's 218-632-9399 and 218-632-9399. You can also Skype me during the show. It's Frank Rizzo 3. It's Frank Rizzo with the number 3. You can also email me. It is markstevens@riseup.net. That's markstevens@riseup.net. We'll do another segment with Karl. And Karl, I got to be honest with you, the more you're talking about this, and it sounds like Bill Thornton type stuff, the more you're talking about it, the more convoluted it seems to get. And it just doesn't seem like it's something that's very easily relatable to people. That it's a mushroom. One second, Karl. We've got a whole segment here. One thing leads to 3, and then when you start explaining those 3, that balloons up into 7. And it just keeps getting more and more and more convoluted. From what I'm getting from you, you're saying is don't ever engage the prosecutor directly. File your own claim first with the same clerk, and then address the accusations that the prosecutor's making. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I'll make a simple example how I explain to everybody. Because they're coming at you under a code, right? They're bringing a code at you, right? Attacking you with a code, right?
Yes.
Okay, we agree with that.
Yeah.
This is just like saying making a code for a computer program or a video game. How in the world do you expect me to interpret your code? I do not program those codes. Every key is case specific or code specific. I do not understand what that code defines or what it relates to. It is not in common language. It is in machine language. It's in a code language. You and I could look at a Picasso painting for 20 years and interpret what it means. Picasso's going to come in the room spinning around and say, no, it's an elephant holding a banana stand and a ball who had my picture upside down. Why are you trying to interpret their code? You did not create their code. You have no right to interpret their code. You're wasting your time trying to decipher their code. You are not the creator of that code. So what you do is you bring your law, your claim before that court and say, how does that code have anything to do with me? And how does that code have any way to show that it has the right to administrate my property? Can you please show me? Because then you're going to have to bring the person who established that code, created that code before the court, and verify, viva voce, by mouth, saying that he knows that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that somehow I am liable for violating that code that he wrote. It's that simple.
That's what I do with the motion. That's what I do when I call the prosecutors. I don't file a claim, let's say a counterclaim type of thing, with the same clerk under the impression that it's public here, it's private over here. I don't even acknowledge that it's public. It's all private. I mean, even if we just went by Dunn in Bradstreet, it's all private. All of it's private. So the fact that they're bringing, some prosecutor is bringing a code violation, it doesn't seem to be any more effective, or it would be better to try to file a claim instead of addressing them head on. Where is your evidence, sir?
When you motion in their court, right, you're motioning in their court, right, you must appear in that court. If I don't appear in that court, like say it was Mike versus IRS, I can't motion that court, Karl can't motion that court, because I don't appear in that case, do I? So if you motion in their court, in their case, you are accepting that you are appearing in that court, and you believe that you are a party, and you are accepting.
No, you don't.
They
some of them may look at you that way, but there's plenty of just in their own case citations that where they've dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. They may have jurisdiction just for the purpose of the motion, which is fine. As long as they're addressing the motion, I don't care if I'm ceding or waiving jurisdiction just for the purpose of the motion, and I make sure that I let them know. I know if there is any jurisdiction, it's just to dispose of this nonsense that the prosecutor has no evidence to support. But I don't see any merit to what you're saying as far as that you've got to file your own claim on the public side because they're acting privately. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
If somebody was trying to come after me and claiming that they were going to take my property or my money, I don't care if it's the government, I don't care if it's my neighbor next door, I'm going to ask them to please cease and desist immediately and try to settle the matter on a private side outside of the court. I'm going to make them fully aware that who's ever prosecuting me, they have to stand in open court and under oath of affirmation testify that they know what they're saying is true. And that's that Trinzi versus Pagliaro, 1964, that no lawyer is allowed to motion a court or demand a court summary judgment unless he has first-hand knowledge of the wrong. Now, that's how you knock the attorneys out of every single case. You say, are you an attorney? Yes. Do you have any first-hand knowledge of the events that are going to occur here today that you filed? No. Who is the person that's going to come before the court and under oath of affirmation make a verifiable claim before this court? I'd like to see Mr. United States or Mrs. United States take the stand. It's that simple.
Well, it's not just that simple, because even from a standpoint of plain devil's advocate, the plaintiff is not always the witness and doesn't have to be a witness with personal first-hand knowledge. That's basic. Anyone could be a plaintiff that has been damaged, and not necessarily have personal first-hand knowledge of the damage, because they have witnesses that do have personal first-hand knowledge. So I don't think I'm splitting hairs, but I'm just trying to be as accurate as possible. I'm not saying I think we're in agreement that you want to challenge the application, the facts that the code applies. I think you're just coming at it from a different way, that you're under you're saying that you have to file your claim. That it's like you mentioned before about semantics. I'm filing a motion, you're filing a claim, as if the claim is somehow any different, that you're actually appearing in their... If you file a complaint with them or a claim, you are ceding jurisdiction to them as a plaintiff.
This will make it simple. This is not France, so this is not a code land. You do understand that common law is the superior law of the land. There is no higher law. No, I do not. I do not concede that. There may be some aspects of common law I agree with, but as far as the common law itself, no, I do not concede that at all. What I believe is that if you want to go, I like how the lunatic Justinian put it. 3 precepts to the law are this: live honestly, injure no one, give every man his due. I believe that the non-aggression principle is a superior, law or principle, not the common law. what is the common? The common law is just a custom of the people that happen to live within a certain district.
That's what it's generally understood, but that's not how it's necessarily applied because, let's say, a common law remedy in taxation was to pay it first. So I really don't think it was the custom of the people to be robbed blind and then have to bring an action. There's so many things wrong with the common law when you actually start examining it. That
Mark, I just gave you the common law remedy. I said if somebody's trying to administrate your property without your consent or by right, all you do is you ask them nicely on a private side before you walk in before the judge, cease and desist immediately. Unless there's going to be some man who's going to come forth and testify and hold oath of affirmation that that tax or that code is applicable to me. So if they refuse to cease and desist,
Karl, I'm very little time here. If you go and you file a claim or something in court to stop taxation, that is not the common law remedy. The common law remedy is to pay it first.
No, the common law remedy, I'm telling you, the common law remedy is you file a claim and you say that this person is trying to administrate my right on my property without right. And I ordered them to cease and desist immediately or bring a verifiable claim before the court in 22 days. And that's it. And you demand compensation.
If we just focus on, let's say, income taxes, or if you do that, you will have it thrown out immediately because of the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act and sovereign immunity. It doesn't work that way with taxes. Like I mentioned, there are some very good things about the common law that there has to be injury and damage. I agree with that. Yeah, that's common sense. But when you start looking at in general, when you start looking at more aspects of it, it's disastrous. Absolutely.
Do you believe that people have a Bill of Rights under the United States Constitution?
No, I believe that a bunch of politicians, a bunch of rich psychopaths in 1789 or 1790 or whatever wrote that.
Do you believe we have inherent rights given to us by our Creator?
No, I do not.
That we have our right to property.
No, I do not. I've gone on record on this show many, many times. I do not accept the concept of rights. I believe that people have life, liberty, and property. I do not believe that they have rights to that. That is a legal concept that I reject.
Do you believe that a person could claim property is all what they believe is proper to their person, exclusive to all others within society, and that they claim his own vested interest, they have sole vested interest in that property?
So they can claim that. I believe, people claim that all the time. But what does that have to do with the concept of rights, though? The concept of rights is a legal concept. It's not something that I buy into. I used to.
All rights is a subcategory of property. Your rights are your property. Your heartbeat is your property. Your breath is your property. They can't claim your rights. They can't take away your breath. They can't take away your heartbeat. That is your property.
Hold on. We'll have to finish this off here. My name is Marc Stevens. This is the No State Project. And I'm not going to give the number out because we got a full boat of calls that we want to get to. And we will get to all your calls in the next hour here on the No State Project. Don't go away. Okay, we got a couple minutes here to finish, Karl.
Mm-hmm. All right. Like I said, we have inherent rights. We have inherent property. We own our bodies. We own our rights. Nobody may take our rights away. We can't sell our rights. We can't transfer our rights. We can't destroy or diminish or do anything with our rights, like our heartbeat. There's nothing we can do. We're stuck with it. They're part of us. There's nothing that we can do about it. And like I said, what I always tell people, Article 7, or you people call them the Seventh Amendment, is it just says at common law when any value of a controversy, including taxes, exceeds $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be re-examined by any court of the United States. Not any court of the common law, any court of the United States. So the United States court system recognizes the fact that a common law trial by jury is superior to their courts of the United States.
The problem is, Karl, I got to be real quick here. The problem is, if you're looking at taxes, they have what's called the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act, and they go back hundreds of years, not only through the British rulings, but American rulings. It has always been held under the common law, even if it's more than $20. You have to pay it first. When you bring an action for a refund, you can put that before a jury. That is true.
That's it.
But it does not stop. It doesn't stop them from throwing it out for sovereign immunity and because they have the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act. The courts, they have limited exceptions. There's some exceptions, but nobody that I know of, we've ever gotten the judge to even acknowledge it.
Mark, that's merchant law and that's statute staples you're talking about.
No,
that's
I'm talking
common.
about, and I don't have the things before me, but there are plenty of their opinions that is common law remedy is to pay it first. The only time they have an exception is, and nobody acknowledges it though, it's like Enoch, the Enoch case, I forget the whole thing, is where if you can show that they can't prevail under any circumstances, which is why I attack the facts so hard. But I've never seen any, in recent history, no one has ever gotten the courts that I'm aware of, state or federal, to acknowledge the exception to the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act. We can't even get them to take judicial notice that it exists. It's that bad.
But Mark, you remember Holtzville, Long Island, New York. You remember that huge tax center that was up there.
I told you, I lived right on the other side of Bald Hill.
Right. So what I'm saying is my mom was a IRS auditor since 1972 till 1993. I know everything about the IRS. I know everything where you people are sifting in your landmines and why you're doing. She prepared the tax cases against people. So she told me every trick in the book because she knew I was a Scotch kid and I was going to get myself thrown in jail because I'm messing with the tax system of this country. So she explained to me how I get out of it and stay away from them. Okay, my mom's name is Patricia Grace Gone. Patricia Grace Lentz or Patricia Chase Russo, and she worked up there in the Holtzville office since 1972. This is all she did. So when you folks are trying to argue with me about tax and tax court, and I feel bad for Aaron Schiff because he did not understand that he came into that tax court, federal tax court. When you come to federal tax court, you're coming as a prosecutor. The burden of proof is on you that you do not owe that tax. Like you were trying to say earlier, you pay the tax first, and then you prove that you don't. That's what Erwin Schiff had to do.
Well, the problem Erwin Schiff made, though, is he went and filed a bunch of returns, and that was a dumb thing to do. He signed jurat statements, and that's why he ended up in that court.
He just had to file that he was exempt. All he had to say is if you look at those W-4 forms.
It's like playing with a ring of fire, though. You cannot play with their power base and expect to beat them. That's what he thought he could do.
Read the line where it says, do you believe that you're exempt? Only man has the capacity to believe. Coca-Cola doesn't have the capacity to believe.
They don't care, though. Don't you understand? They don't care. They'll say, you're lying, you committed fraud. They don't care. They don't even care if your belief is genuine, and you know that. These people don't give a damn.
They don't care.
People, that's why you take it before a jury, and you use the Pagley versus Trinzi versus Pagliaro, and you force that judge to accept the fact that that attorney has no first-hand knowledge. Just in the O.J. Simpson trial, because you guys are screaming up and down, Marsha Clark would have won because she did plenty of screaming, and she talked for a year and a half, and those simpletons on the jury realized, they said within 30 days, we all knew O.J. was going to walk because Marsha Clark was never going to bring anybody in this courthouse who had first-hand, third-party, impartial witness to testify into oath of affirmation that anything she said before this court, all this evidence, all this was true. Every single person knew. They said all the jurors and the member knew within 30 days that Marsha Clark was wasting our time. That's the same thing all these tax courts do. Well, if you don't even have the right to bring the witness forward who could claim with first-hand knowledge that they know that everything that in that paperwork is true. My mom said she was a tax auditor. She said to me, let me give you a simple example. If somebody sits across the desk with me and I say to them, you owe me $68,352.17. She says, and all they have to ask me is, man, would you please sign that? She says, no, I can't sign it. She says, you know why? I said, no, why? She said, because it would be fraud. She said, I have no first-hand knowledge. That's exactly how much money he made that year. I wasn't there with him 365, 24/7. I don't know what his private affairs were. I have no idea. The IRS cannot testify under oath of affirmation that anything on that paperwork is true. The case is done. If you move under administrative courts, they will clobber you. If you don't know how to invoke your right under Article 7 of the Constitution and move it before a jury of common law, like O.J. Simpson did, you're going to get clobbered. Because then all they're going to use is facts and evidence to build a case against you.
Well, we do challenge. I had a prosecutor the other day on the phone, and when I asked him about witnesses with personal knowledge, he actually admitted that he didn't have any. Didn't even plan to bring them. So we have that on the record. But I have to run. We got to move on, Karl. But I appreciate you calling.
All righty.
All right.
Good luck to you, folks.
All right. Thanks, Karl.
All right. Okay.
All right. I appreciate everyone's patience. We're going to get to everybody in order.
Order.
Don't correct me, child. I'm from Long Island. I know how to talk. I used to talk like that all the time, too, JT.
Isn't it Longa Island?
Not if you're from Long Island.
Oh, okay.
I used to say, you're from Long Island.
You kind of work a G in there somewhere, Long Island?
Yeah, Long Island. Okay, here we go. We're coming back. Yes, we're doing it live here on the No Stay Project. Welcome back, JT.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here.
Unbelievably, we are in the third hour. Jenny, did you have something to add? My daughter, Jenny, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? It.
No.
Okay. JT, there was one time, she's always been to Chatterbox, and a friend of mine from Australia, Marc, he's been on the show before. Mm-hmm. Well, his daughter's about the same age as Jenny. And this is going back a number of years, and so we decided, he was always saying that his daughter